Alright guys, Forsaken just got tons of new sneak peeks. We've got news on the upcoming Evade x Forsaken collab, an official render for Flowers, fresh details about Rust, and even some scrapped features for the Kevin Jason skin. There's a lot to unpack today, so let's get right into it. Firstly, we got word about a huge new crossover event, Evade x Forsaken. This isn't just another killer or survivor update, it's a full collab between two of Roblox's biggest games. According to the event page, it's set to run from August 29th through September 14th, which means it's right around the corner. Of course, development timelines can change, but even with that in mind, this is still a massive deal. The teaser description reads, "Release the Gubbies, more info soon." That's already sparked a ton of theories about what this event might bring, so let's break down what it could mean for both Evade and Forsaken. On the Evade side, one of the most popular theories is that this collab could be similar to the Catvade event from April Fools. In Catvade, players were turned into cats and seals, maps were altered, and the game had a chaotic, light-hearted twist. If Forsaken is involved this time, it's easy to imagine something similar happening with Gubbies. Players might be transformed or themed around them in some way, adding that same quirky, chaotic energy. For Forsaken, the most likely outcome is skins. These collabs nearly always revolve around cosmetics, and Forsaken has a history of using events to drop exclusive bundles. One skin that immediately comes to mind is Bobo Elliot, a design that was scrapped before but now seems perfect for a comeback. With an event this big though, it's unlikely they'll stop at just one cosmetic. Expect multiple crossover-themed skins, maybe even inspired by Evade's next bots or some of its iconic memes. Of course, there's always room for speculation. Could the collab bring more than skins? There might be a chance for a temporary event currency, or even a new limited-time game mode tying into Evade's mechanics. A small collab-inspired map could also be a possibility, but realistically, those additions are less likely. The safe bet is still on skins being the main focus. Even if the collab just delivers skins, it's still a huge moment for Forsaken. Crossovers like this are rare, and the timing is perfect. Not only does it keep Forsaken's community engaged while waiting for Chapter 2, but it also introduces Forsaken to Evade's massive player base, and vice versa. For both games, it's an exciting way to share audiences and generate hype heading into the next big updates. So whether it's Gubbies in Evade or long-awaited skins like Bobo Elliot in Forsaken, this collab is shaping up to be one of the most exciting events yet. We'll just have to wait until August 29th to see exactly what drops. Next up, let's talk about some really interesting news surrounding Rust, a killer concept that has been in and out of Forsaken's development cycle for quite some time. If you've been following leaks, you'll know that Rust isn't exactly a new face. In fact, he was originally scrapped back when there was a rule in place preventing myths tied to personal online personas from being added into Forsaken. Because Rust was essentially an online persona, that restriction kept him shelved. But recently, the conversation has shifted. Developer Hitoko has shared some sketches and concept art, including reposts of fan-made renders, giving us the clearest look yet at how Rust 010 could actually appear in-game. These designs show a grotesque, unsettling figure with a collapsed roof-like head structure, skeletal features, and a body covered in what looks like patchwork materials and rusted plating. It's eerie, original, and very much in line with Forsaken's horror aesthetic. Originally, Rust was imagined with a unique moveset, one that even included the ability to transform into other survivors. That kind of mimic mechanic was later rumored for Flowers, but it shows how ambitious the devs were when first experimenting with him. On stream though, Hitoko confirmed that if Rust 010 were to come back, his kit would likely be reworked entirely. One of the ideas being tossed around is for him to act as a decoy killer, drawing inspiration from The Unknown in Dead by Daylight. A killer built around deception would be brand new territory for Forsaken and could add an entirely fresh layer of strategy. Forsaken already has killers like John Doe, who force players to play smart and carefully. Rust 010 could take that idea even further, a killer who thrives on misdirection and tricking survivors. He wouldn't just be about brute force, but about manipulating fear and confusion, making players second guess every decision. That could make him one of the most unique killers in the entire roster if executed well. Now, when it comes to release timing, we need to be realistic. If Rust does end up confirmed as a killer, he'll most likely be rebuilt completely from the ground up. And given that we already know killers like Guest 666, Doombringer, and Flowers are ahead in the pipeline, Rust is unlikely to show up anytime soon. Still, there's always the possibility that the devs really like his concept and decide to bump him higher on the priority list. Overall, Rust feels like one of those lost killers who might just get a second chance. He fits Forsaken's tone perfectly. His potential kit as a decoy killer is something totally new, and the sketches show that both fans and devs alike are interested in exploring his design. While we probably won't be seeing him in the immediate future, I wouldn't count him out just yet. If he does make his way back, he could end up being one of the most creative and mind game heavy killers Forsaken has ever seen. Nextly, we got to see something that a lot of players thought was both surprising and a little bittersweet. Some custom expressions that were originally designed for the Kevin skin for Jason. As many of you know, survivors in Forsaken already have different facial expressions depending on what's happening in a match, like getting hit, landing a stun, or even when using certain abilities. But killers don't really have this feature right now. For the Kevin skin especially, fans pointed out that his face felt static. No matter what situation he was in, it stayed the same, which kind of broke the immersion for some people. That's why it was so interesting when iDrawStuff22 revealed that they had actually made custom expressions for Kevin. These included things like a unique face when he gets stunned or when he lands a gashing wound. Seeing these concepts really drove home how much more personality and intensity the skin could have had. It wasn't just about visuals, these little details would have made the gameplay experience feel more dynamic and alive. Unfortunately, at the time there just wasn't any coding support for this kind of feature, so even though the art existed, it couldn't be implemented. The good news though is that Forsaken's dev team has expanded a lot recently. With more resources, it's totally possible we could see expressions being added in the future, not only for new skins, but maybe even as slight reworks for older ones. If that happens, it could push Forsaken's presentation to an entirely new level. Next up, we also got to see something pretty interesting, an official render of flowers posted by Vibing Leaf. Now I've got to say, the render itself looks fantastic. The model captures that eerie, unsettling vibe that makes flowers stand out, and for fans of Roblox myth-inspired characters, it's always cool to see these kinds of polished designs. It's especially exciting since this is the first real, official style render we've seen of flowers outside of leaks or animations, so naturally it's caught the attention of the community. However, the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's been some confusion around it. Some players believe that this render is connected to Forsaken, maybe as a teaser or even as an upcoming shop icon. And honestly, I get why people jump to that conclusion. Flowers has already appeared in Forsaken leaks before, and seeing a crisp render makes it easy to assume it's tied to the game. But here's the truth, this particular render isn't related to Forsaken at all. If it was officially tied to the game, the devs would have stated that clearly. The Forsaken team has been pretty consistent about labeling teasers or confirming when assets belong to the project. Since this wasn't labeled in that way, it's safe to say this is just a standalone render made by Vibing Leaf, not something directly from Forsaken's development pipeline. That being said, I don't think it's a bad thing that people are speculating. In fact, it kind of shows how excited the community is for Flowers to officially join the killer roster. This render might not be part of Forsaken, but it does give us a glimpse at how great Flowers could look if and when we finally get them in-game. For now, just enjoy the render for what it is, a really well-made piece of art, but not a Forsaken teaser. And that's everything we've got for today's Forsaken news. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.